Okay, Phil, so we're going to attempt to do a mammoth episode of You Should Have Heard Just What I Seen, a video of collect. What are we calling this anyway? It's not even a mini series. It's a
It's the podcast about the book.
hundred week episode or epic of.
Yeah, it's the podcast about the book that's about the musical segments that are in movies and TV that aren't really videos, but
There you go. And if you watched every one of these podcasts, it would take you about 10 times longer than it would take you to actually just read the books. But
we've
don't
done we've done 80. I wonder if there's anybody out there that's
watched
dead
everyone.
or that's well, I was thinking more like maybe half.
Yeah,
Is anybody other than us two seen half? I'm sure that Stephen Rubio and maybe even Jeff Pike have
yeah.
watched, but anyway.
So I don't know if we're going to actually wrap up tonight. I look at the list and I think it's a bit of a challenge, but we have a bunch, and I think you've sort of indicated that you think you can get through some of these very quickly.
Yeah,
So I'm going to let you kind of lead the way in terms of what you want to discuss. And
sure.
you basically grouped a bunch of, you've created a bunch of different groups of some of these movies. So
Yeah.
go ahead.
So really, there were two groups that I was hoping we could address together. The first group was three non-English language films, which is sort of I guess a dumb way to group things. But two of them actually do link up for more reasons than that. The two French films are both kind of centered around 1968 and the fallout from '68, and then I've added in the Werner Herzog film, which has nothing whatsoever to do with them, other than the fact that it's not in English.
Right.
So that would be one grouping. The other grouping of five films was just a mishmash of films that really, we started to group films together, and these were the films that didn't fit anywhere. So they're just kind of leftovers. Now, taken together, the eight films, there's a wide range as to how much I have to say about them, how familiar I am with them. Two of them I absolutely love. They're two of my favorite films ever, The Social Network and Malcolm X. But then there's at least one of the films, The Regular Lovers, one of the French films, that I have zero. I saw it once and I remember not a thing about it except for the 3-minute clip that's on YouTube. So some of
Yeah.
these get to pretty quickly. So I thought we'd start with those three films. And I'll start with that one, The Regular Lovers, again, which I saw at I can't even remember if it was already the Lightbox or it was still the Cinematheque. The director's name is Philippe Garrell, I think, or Grell.
What year
And
did it come out?
well, that's funny. Strangely enough, I even misremembered that. I had it in my mind that it was a film done in the early '70s because it is in black and white, kind of has that feel, but it came out in the early 2000s, 2005 or
Okay.
something. But it's about that period that comes just in the wake of 1968.
Hmm.
And that's all I remember, that it's left bank intellectuals and, revolutionaries and teenagers and what have you. And actually, no, I more like 20 somethings. But the clip I picked is just great. I mean, they're using the Kinks song, This Time Tomorrow, which I think was used in Miss America, Mrs. America.
Oh, was that? Ah, okay.
Yeah, I think I called attention to that. And they even ended an episode with it, which is a song from, I think is it from Lola
That's what
versus,
I'm thinking. Like, I know it's not Something Else or Village Green, but it sounds like it's from that era. So I think Lola came right after those albums or something, didn't
yeah,
it?
I think it is from the Lola
Unless it's
album.
Ar, it wouldn't be Arthur, right?
It's possible, but I think it's more likely from the Lola
Yeah,
album.
it's a great song. I
It's a
got
great song, and somehow it's a song that I overlooked until I saw this film, and it was like, how did I miss that the first time
yeah.
around? That's another reason why I think it's the Lola album, because I remember saying something, writing something similar on the message board. How did I miss this? Yeah, it's just a great song, and I love the scene. It's just a bunch of
Mm,
people dancing. They're having a party, and they don't start dancing immediately. Someone gets off the couch. It's clearly the music is being played, I think, as part of the scene.
mm.
We never see a turntable or anything. Um, and the dancing is great. A lot of kind of people almost like voguing and showing off and what have you. And it's a kind of scene I watch, and it just really moves me because it makes me wish I'd led another life. Like, I want to be one of those people that can be like that, you know? I don't have anything like that in my life. I never have, and I never will. Looking back on these parties where I was just like completely going crazy dancing,
Yeah,
you know? I got drunk with my friends for a number of years, and that was one form of going crazy, but it's not the same thing. It makes me
yeah,
sad.
yeah,
It really does when I think about that. And that scene moves me so much in that regard. That's all I can say about the film. I remember nothing else. Oh, and I did want to mention, I sent you that newspaper article, The Director's in Trouble Now.
yeah,
In
yeah.
fact, two of the people I'm going to talk about tonight in trouble. Maybe I should have linked those two. There's Philippe
Mm,
Garrell and then Bill Murray too, for the
yeah,
same thing. You know, apparently he's 75 now, Garrell, making unwanted advances on actresses. Five of them are taking him to court. So, you know, well, I mean, it's the story of today, right?
yeah, yeah,
I'm not saying they're wrong at all. I'm just saying we encounter this so much, right?
yeah, yeah.
Um, Now that one pairs up nicely with geez, I just had the video case right here. I did rewatch the scene tonight, Something in the Air, which is
Right,
Olivier Assayas's film from roughly the same moment, early 2000s, and an odd film in that it pairs up with one we've talked about already, Cold Water.
right, right.
And as I mentioned in the entry in the book, Cold Water is like a blueprint, very much so, for Something in the Air. And yet I think Cold Water is the better film. It came out about 10 years earlier, and it's got a lot of things in common. Two very specific things. I think both involve people flipping through a stack of records. I know that's true of Something in the Air, and I think there's a similar scene in Cold Water. I watched a little bit of that scene tonight. The albums that he's flipping through are interesting because it's not the usual blonde on blonde and
Right.
Sergeant Peppers. There's a lot of weird sort of art leaning stuff.
Mm,
I think there's definitely a Jethro Tull album, a Atomic Rooster album,
wow.
Kevin Ayers,
Yeah.
Elect, Electric Ladyland's in there. But it's a pretty interesting mix of records. And then I think there's also a big party with a bonfire, just like
Mm,
in Water.
yeah.
And of course, there's gorgeous looking women and sad looking boys with long hair, teenagers. The Antoine Bonnell character. Um, and this has a lot more about filmmaking than Cold Water. He's interested in making films, but he gets involved. He wants to make revolutionary films. It's sort of half tribute to Godard, and I think he plays around with it and has some fun making fun of Godard at times. Um, so the scene that I wrote about in the book is the very last scene in the film. It's great. I rewatched that tonight. I was going to watch the whole film, but then when I found or was reminded that the scene I wanted was the very last one, I said I'll just watch that. So it goes about 5 or 6 minutes. If you back up a bit, you'll like this. It starts with him on a bus and he's reading the what looks to be an original copy of the Situationist International newsletter or
Wow,
something.
great.
And he quotes from it. And I like the stuff he quoted. It's very 1968 saying that we won't wait any longer. The demand for living is a revolutionary act
Right.
and all this, and he believes in all that earnestly. And then there's a couple scenes where, one of his love interests, she's off in a commune, I think, or radical filmmaking group, commune-like situation, and she's not happy. And then it ends with him on his day job, which is he just does some technical work for what is really kind of a funny, totally absurd film that involves Nazis and Godzilla. He's obviously the point is he's got all these lofty ambitions to make revolutionary experimental films, but he spends his day working on just the cheesiest grade Z films imaginable. And there's this bombshell actress in a loincloth. And then he leaves his work there, and he goes to see a night of experimental cinema. And one of his love interests from earlier in the film, she's in the film. So as soon as I think he's I can't remember at what point the Kevin Ayers song starts, which is called Decadence, and it's a great song. I don't know if you know it. Um,
I do know it, but I wanted to listen to it again because it's been a few years since I've listened to
yeah,
it. So it's
I'm
really
pretty
dreamy sounding song, isn't it?
dreamy, and it's got one kind of riff looped over and over again.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
And it's great. And I recently bought one of those. So one of the best deals, type of deals you can get on Amazon is they put a lot of times they'll put four albums by one artist together, CDs, and you can get them for, sometimes cheap as $10 or
Wow.
15 bucks. Fleetwood Mac and all this early 70s stuff. So I bought a Kevin Ayers set like that. I really didn't like much of it.
Yeah.
Decadence on there. I forget which album it's on, but the rest of it didn't live up to that one song. He
Mm,
was in Soft Machine, and I like some Soft Machine. Anyways, the song plays. He's in the cinema. He's watching. She's gone off, and she's made an actual experimental film, and it's really quite beautiful. It's I could compared it to the scene in the Virgin Suicides where the sisters are all frolicking in this field
mm,
while Ayers Sur plays,
yeah.
and it's very overlit, overexposed, and very 19, late 60s, early 70s.
Mm,
And this song is playing, and it's beautiful. And then the whole film ends on that one scene.
wow.
The screen kind of goes white as he's sitting in the cinema. Um, so I would recommend the film. And maybe if I hadn't seen Cold Water, I would think more highly of it. But I just feel like Cold Water, it's a little something a little more polished about the later one, more studied or something.
Right.
Um, but it's worth seeing. Now, the third one in the non-English category, again, it's nothing whatsoever to do with those two films. It's a Werner Herzog film called Stroszek. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right. I think it would be Stroszek. And I think it's the first Herzog film I ever saw, and I really liked it at the time. I think I saw it with my old university roommate, Tom Mayock, probably at the or possibly at the theater. We've talked about this theater before, where I saw Kings of the Road, that Vendors film, the one that was it's not the Bloor Cinema, it's on the opposite side of Bloor, down past it on Estedes. It used to be there, and it was a soft
Right.
core porno theater for a while. I think I might have seen it there. And it's just a weird film. It's about this guy. Bruno S. was in a bunch of, I think that's the actor. I think you have his name right, Bruno S. And he was in a bunch of Herzog films. He was like a, I don't know if muse is the right word, but he was like an alter ego for the director. He's just this sort of odd character. And he's in Germany, and I can't remember the reason. He picks up and he leaves, and he moves to Wyoming or Colorado or something. So you got this German guy who speaks no English. He's walking around this Midwestern, not Midwestern, Western town. He wears a cowboy hat. And it's a whole thing of German directors from that time being fascinated, and I think repulsed by American culture.
Right.
And he has a really hard time of it. Everything's wrong. It's kind of like the Fassbinder film In a Year with 13 Moons. And the last 6 minutes, where the song comes in, which is Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee. Do I have that right?
Yep.
And I even forget what the song's called, Scott. I should have checked it.
Um,
Maybe you
got
could
it on the
read a
list here.
book,
One
Andy.
sec.
Holler and Blues or Hoot and Blues or something.
Hootin' the Blues. Yeah.
Hoot and the Blues. I should have checked again those box sets. I bought a Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee box
Mm,
set. Nothing. It has four of their albums. I never thought to play it before doing this. And it's a really catchy, it's kind of halfway between country blues and electric blues, closer to country blues. Really catchy and lively, and it's the strangest scene. It's very memorable. His life is just falling apart, and it starts with him sitting in a restaurant talking to some local, and the local sums up everything that's going wrong. He says, "So, your woman left you. It's like a parody of a country song. You lost your house. This went wrong. You're having a bad time with it." He just nods, and he's kind of looking at him. And then he goes off. He's carrying a gun. First thing he does is he abandons his truck and leaves it driving in a circle. It's really strange. Then he goes into this sort of like it's like a tourist thing, which is it's really creepy because it's all these inhumane things they've done to animals where they
Hmm.
have like the dancing chicken. So you put in a quarter, this chicken comes out
Wow.
and actual live chicken comes out and starts dancing. And the piano playing chicken and the drumming duck. And it's just these little, you're looking through glass, watching these things that these animals have been trained to do. And it's clearly meant as a metaphor for all the inhumanity that this guy suffered.
Yeah.
Then he goes up on, I don't even know what you call them, cable cars, elevated cable cars like they used to have at Niagara Falls. You know what I'm
Right.
talking
Yeah.
about?
Yeah.
At the C&E. He,
Yeah.
he, he boards one of those. He's got his shotgun with him. We cut back to the truck, which is now gone up in flames. We cut back to these mistreated animals, and off screen we hear a gunshot. Clearly, he's committed suicide. And then the film ends, and by now the song started up, and the film ends with the dancing chicken.
Mm.
And it's just a really memorable, kind of sad, creepy ending after what we've just seen.
Wow.
I can't remember if the clip I sent you, if it includes the gunshot and everything.
I don't think
I
so.
don't think so. I think it just focuses on the last couple of minutes with the chicken, but that's what precedes it. And
Wow.
it's a good film. I've seen a few Herzog films. I still have never seen, believe it or not, it's one of the handful of most famous films I've never seen, Aguirre, Wrath of God, which
Right.
often
That was
it
big.
used to be a real standby on greatest ever lists. I think it's fallen out of favor a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I saw some of his, he became a real documentarian. I saw some of his
Right.
documentaries pretty well. Did you ever see Grizzly Man?
Yeah, I saw that one. Yeah, that might
Yeah,
be the only one I've seen actually.
that
Maybe
one
one
was
other, but
pretty memorable,
yeah.
right? Doesn't the
Yeah.
bear turn on him at the end? He ended up
Yeah.
getting, yeah. Um, yeah, I saw a couple others. He made one, I think, about maybe about capital punishment. Anyway, I did
Didn't
the
he make
Grizzly.
one about like eating his shoe or something like that?
Oh, that's yes, definitely, definitely. That was one of his early ones, and that might even involve. I think it's called Bruno S. Eats His Shoe, the guy that's
Okay,
in
yeah.
this. Um, he remade Nosferatu, and I don't think I've ever seen that. He was in the around 80 or so. There was Fassbinder, who was kind of the most celebrated
Right.
director, and there was Vendors, and there was
Yep.
him.
Wow.
There were a couple others. There was the guy that made the Tin Soldier, whose name escapes me at the moment. There was a
Tin
woman,
Drum? Tin Drum?
the Tin Drum. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah,
Tin Soldier.
Is it Gunther or something like that? Or
Gunther Grass wrote it.
oh, Gunther Grass wrote it. Okay.
Volker Schlorndorf, I think is his name.
Okay.
Remember that was banned in Ontario?
Yeah, yeah, I remember it was a big story. Yeah.
Yeah, big to do about it. That and Pretty Baby, and there was a couple other
Yeah.
films. There was a woman too, Marguerite von Trotta. So there was the new wave of German directors.
Okay.
Mostly I saw Fassbinder, and not as much from the other people.